to another episode of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. I'm Brad.
It's the newly dubbed Oracle, Zach.
And I'm happy.
If you're watching this, please hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And we're actually giving away a jersey from the NFL shop on us, so you don't want to miss that chance either. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please, if you would, head on over to YouTube and help us out. Show us some love. We certainly appreciate your support. All right, first up, we have to talk about the Titans and the Bills game. Sheesh. What the hell, man? Tannehill looked like the leader that we've talked about on the show. And even before we started the show, I mean, the three of us have talked about Tannehill when he was here at Miami. What I want to know is, can Miami, can we have him back? I mean, not really. Just kidding. I like where Miami's going, but damn, what a good game. The Titans showed absolutely no mercy. And Derrick Henry, damn. Derrick Henry made a grown man sit down with his bare hand. He just told him to sit down and shut up, push him right back down on the bench and said, we've had enough of you. For our listeners and viewers, if you haven't seen it yet, you have to Google the Derrick Henry stiff arm. Stiff arms Josh Norman. It was holy crap. And Zach, as you pointed out, the very next play, Henry then drugged Norman 3 to 4 yards until his teammates helped finally drag Henry down. And Norman got out and got up and was talking trash.
Yeah, at that point, it's just you're trying to save face. You just got embarrassed 2 plays in a row, and I don't even know what he said to him, but I would love to hear that. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, seriously, you're getting schooled, and not even schooled. You just got punished. I mean, like old-timey English boarding school type punishment where the headmaster just paddled your ass in front of the entire class and told you to sit down and shut up. And then he got up and talked trash. Dude, that only makes it work. Just kind of humbly head back to the defensive huddle and do your thing. But anyway, I just want to say, I want to do this first because I want to say the Titans cleared the air last night. Their initial 3 wins had come against terrible teams with a combined 6 points total. And we've maintained that the Titans and the Colts, we said from the very beginning, were the only 2 teams that had a legit shot of probably winning this division. We just didn't know which of the 2 teams was going to show up because they're both still in the growing stage, in the growth spurt, right? Even though the Titans went on the run last year and they had 3 wins, they were against chintzy teams. We didn't really know. And so we were looking forward to last night's game, just like we were looking forward to the Colts-Browns game. And we were looking forward to see what the Titans can do. And, well, no further questions, Your Honor. Actually, I do have one more question. Could the Titans have beaten the Steelers last week? I think they could have.
They looked really good against the Bills. I will not take that away. But when you have 2 weeks to get healthy and you having secret illegal practices in between, of course, you're going to do better than expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, going into that game, like me personally, I didn't know that Trey White was going to be out of that game. And they were missing 2 linebackers, one that they had put on the IR, and Matt Milano, who is the center of their defense, their middle linebacker. So, the Bills, they just made so many mistakes in that game. For as good as the Titans played, they capitalized on the mistakes the Bills made, and they minimized their own mistakes, which is what winning teams do. But from the Bills' perspective, if you look at the team stats, almost all the stats were in the Bills' favor, but they had 3 turnovers and they had 10 penalties. And when you do that, you're going to lose games against good teams, and they got slaughtered because of those mistakes last night.
Yeah, fair points. And I'm not ready to crown the Titans AFC champions. I think there's a lot of probably work between now and then. But I will say that they're headed in the right direction. I think that's a safe place to rest with this conversation, don't you think?
Yeah, I will agree.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk. Let's talk about Le'Veon Bell And for those who haven't heard, on Tuesday, the Jets, in all of their infinite wisdom, released Le'Veon Bell. And this, in my opinion, is just another clear case of Adam Gase mismanagement. Bell, 3 times in Pittsburgh, Bell had 2,000-yard seasons with rushing and receiving yards combined. And almost every year in Pittsburgh, he averaged at least 4 yards per carry, and 2 or 3 times it was almost 5 yards per carry. Gase doesn't know what to do with this guy. Gase doesn't know what to do with himself. We're going to beat a dead horse there, but and for as much as I love Frank Gore, I love Frank Gore. I mean, he played in Indy, and then he played in Miami, and I love the guy. I can't believe he's still in the league. He's just a class act, one of the greatest running backs to play the game. But why bring Gore in when you had Bell? I mean, look, I don't know Le'Veon Bell at all. I've never met the guy. I've only watched limited interviews with him, but I can tell you what the guy wants. He wants to, and I haven't run an offense in the NFL either. I'm just telling you, Le'Veon Bell wants to be the guy. So why create a controversy at running back? He doesn't want shared back duties. It's in this situation, it's either Bell or Gore or both, because some guys are cool with that. I don't know if Gore came in just thinking he's going to be a secondary back when Bell needs a breather, but by breaking down the loads that the carries that they've each gotten, it looks like they're not 50-50, but they're not exactly 80-20 either. I mean, it's kind of a split backfield here. Bell shed almost 20 pounds and came into the season with something to prove. He had a chip on his shoulder, had a new coach, and thought, he was going to come in and do something. So let the guy prove it, man. And I don't get the sharing responsibility with 2 guys. I'm sure Gore wants to play. He thinks he can play. He wants to play. You're asking trouble. I don't get it. This is what Gase does. He makes terrible decisions. And this is proof right here. Look, you've got a lot of places that have dual running backs. Very few of them have star-studded running backs, but it's obvious that Le'Veon Bell doesn't want to be that guy. And so now you've created that situation with a guy you expect him to perform, and he doesn't want to be that guy. It doesn't make any sense. It's like bringing a running point guard into your half court system in college. And I saw Coach firsthand do that. It doesn't fit. Everybody's unhappy. This is what Gase does. He just creates confusion. Makes terrible decisions. Just ask Jamal Adams. I can't imagine what this locker room is like right now. Yeah. Anybody want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So I agree with you. I do think he was definitely mismanaged by Adam Gase. Although I want to take it a different direction. To me, Le'Veon Bell is more of a systematic kind of running back. He was so good in that Pittsburgh system. Gase just wasn't using him the way he needs to be used. He's not running the check down to the running back. He's not doing the little pass to the flat to the running back. They're not throwing screens. That's not Gase's style. That's not his system. So he was being misused in that Jets offense, which is why he's not producing. I don't think Le'Veon Bell is the type of player where he's not like a Derrick Henry who's a power runner, or any one of the top tier guys, a Christian McCaffrey type player, in my opinion. I think he's a tier below that. So you have to use your offense to go with his skill set to make him the great player he was in Pittsburgh. And the Jets just didn't do that. So it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. Whoever it is, it's a very low risk, high reward player. So if I was managing a football team right now, I'd be out there trying to get him if I needed a running back or a backup running back.
Yeah, for sure. Before Christian McCaffrey came around, Le'Veon Bell was that guy for Pittsburgh. He was consistently producing. He had a bunch of touches every game. That's just what the Jets haven't done. Adam Gase, as soon as he got there, said that he didn't want Le'Veon. He wanted to try to move Le'Veon. The GM that brought him in got fired, and then Gase was stuck with him. And like you guys said, he just hasn't used him, and he hasn't exploited his skill sets. And I don't know, how you go, 2-3 years, whatever it's been, and just still having that situation. It's good that he finally got released because somebody's going to get a quality back. He's a guy that can line up in the slot. He can line up out wide. He can run real routes. He did that a lot in Pittsburgh. That's why he wanted so much money. He was a receiver and a running back. And he's not as athletic as he was then, but with his experience and with as good as he is, whoever gets him is getting a gem for sure.
Yeah, I'm personally, I agree with you that I'm glad that he's out from underneath Gase. He has been mismanaged, and to your point, Zach, you're absolutely right. But a good coach finds a way to take what talent he has and make it work within a system. And that rigidity, and I understand everybody has their own system, and I haven't been an offensive coordinator, and I'll be the first to admit that. But if you got a guy like that, you use him while you can. He's already on the payroll. It seems to me like Gase is just like as Hefe said. Well, he didn't want him in there, so he just didn't use him. And okay, well, you won't let me get rid of him. We just won't use him, and then we'll piss him off. And I'm just glad Bell's on the move. And the thing about we keep talking about Gase, but every week I can't, and I said it a minute ago, I can't imagine what it's like inside this locker room right now. I just can't. And every week, Gase is making it exponentially harder to turn this team around. And eventually, the demeanor and the attitudes in this locker room will be so negative and so toxic, a new coach will have to basically do what Flores did and ship everybody out to be able to completely rebuild. Remember, Flores came in and just started shipping starters out, and people are like, "What in the hell is he doing?" It's because the toxicity was so bad under Gase. He didn't have a choice. He had to put his philosophy in. He had to get rid of the toxicity. This is what's happened in New York. They've gone from bad to worse, and they're sinking deeper every week into this hole. And I have to believe that at this point that every week is making it exponentially harder. It's possible now because of Gase that the Jets could not be a 500 team for another 3 to 5 years at this point. Because seriously, look, let's say they fire Gase at the end of this year. There's one, right? They hire a new coach next year. He's trying to establish himself. He loses. He starts gutting the team. He tries to bring in some veterans, maybe that he's worked with, whatever. He gets some good draft picks. There's 2 years. Okay, let's say they're getting a little bit better. They get the draft picks making an impact, but they're still young. They're developing. Maybe a few more wins. Let's say, I don't know, maybe 6 wins, whatever, 7 wins. I don't know. There's 3. So, and then all the draft choices were spot on. Everything's firing like it should. Maybe they're a contender. Maybe they're evolving. We're in year 4 easily. And that's if things go well with the draft picks and the choices that you made. So they better get him out, and they better hire an interim coach to at least try to bring in a new philosophy and try to salvage the attitude inside the locker room. Screw wins at this point. It's not going to happen anyway. They better fumigate the toxicity from the program, or the Jets are going to feed on the bottom of the AFC East for years to come. This is my opinion. So, Hefe, you want to go through the updates on the schedule for everybody?
Yeah, so everybody knows that this past week, the Patriots Broncos were supposed to play on Sunday, got moved to Monday, and then eventually got canceled. So those 2 teams basically already had their bye week. And that game is going to be played this Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern. And there were a bunch of changes that had to happen to the schedule because of this game, 7 other changes. And that starts with the Chiefs and the Bills. They had to get their game moved because the Bills obviously just played on Tuesday, and they were scheduled to play Thursday, so they moved this game to Monday night. It's still being played this week, but it's on Monday night instead, so no Thursday game this week. The New York Jets and the Dolphins, their Week 10 game got moved to Week 6 at 4 o'clock. The Jets and the Chargers game from Week 6 got moved to Week 11 at 4 o'clock. The Jags and the Chargers game from Week 8 got moved to Week 7 at 4:25. The Broncos-Chargers game from Week 11 got moved to Week 8 at 4 o'clock. The Chargers-Dolphins game from Week 7 got moved to Week 10 at 4 o'clock. And the Dolphins-Broncos game from Week 6 got moved to Week 11 at 4 o'clock.
Okay, wow. That's That's a lot. Let's hope we don't have this problem the rest of the year. I can't imagine if we have a COVID problems in like week 13, what kind of problems that's going to cause. I know the NFL has they have Tampa hotels locked up for like 30 days, right, for the Super Bowl, in case they need to push it back.
Yeah, they have those locked up for an extra month, and they've already been talking about an 18th week, which is looking more and more probable. Today we got report that one of the defensive tackles for the Falcons tested positive for COVID. So we're waiting to see if they have more as the week goes on and see what's going to happen with their game if they get more tests. But also the Panthers had to, I believe they still practiced on today, which is Wednesday, and they're still waiting to see if they get tests. They haven't had anybody positive, but there's still cases coming in every week. So it's definitely a situation to keep monitoring. But like I said, they've already talked about an 18th week. So it's definitely a possibility right now.
Yeah, and I also heard a rumor that they are considering a playoff bubble. And I heard the two cities that are in contention for that are Los Angeles and Dallas, obviously because of Dallas, because of the stadium for sure. And they host a lot of conventions. They certainly have the capacity. And then LA is probably the place you want to do that because of sheer population and willingness to travel. Not that people wouldn't go to Dallas because it's an amazing city with an amazing facility, but so we're keeping an eye on that for sure. So okay, last before we get to the games, we forgot about this last week, and it just so happens that the Oracle wanted to make sure that we included it this week. I'm not really sure why, Hefe. Do you know why?
Yeah, tell them. I've been whooping everybody's ass in the pick'em for a couple weeks, and I got a little ballsy this week and took some games that I just thought, oh, let me get ahead just in case there were upsets, and I got like 7 games wrong this week. So now the Oracle is on top.
You're goddamn right.
So this week, Zach and our follower Ricky Entry tied for first with 10 correct picks. Congratulations to both of you, Zach. This puts you in the lead of our Pick'em League.
That it does.
I'm tied for second. Hefe, you had a rough week, my man, but I'm sure you'll bounce back.
Yeah, I don't expect to get any games wrong this week.
That's the spirit.
All right. You heard it here, folks. All right, so let's see what we came here to do. Let's look ahead at the week at the coming games. There is no Thursday night game this week, thanks to the COVID shuffle. You kept saying they tested positive for COVID, and I was a big football fan back in the 80s, and I kept waiting for you to say Coke, but I realized that was in the 80s. Everybody tested positive for Coke, and now we just test positive for COVID. And now we're doing the COVID shuffle. It sounds like a new dance craze. No, nobody's probably dancing. I don't know. The Titans are probably dancing, right? I'm sure they did last night. All right. Anyway, Falcons at the Vikings. I got to say that teams that lose their coach scare me. Their identity can change in an instant, and the Falcons certainly have an offense that can hurt you very quickly and do a lot of damage. A new coach comes in and gets them fired up and patches a few holes, and you suddenly have a completely different team. This actually could be a very good game. It could be a very high-scoring offensive game. But I still maintain the Vikings have the pieces they need. They push some very good teams to the brink. I hope that they're just getting better. If for no other reason, they make me look like I know what I'm talking about. I'm picking the Vikings.
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to be a high-scoring game. Both defense are horrible, especially in the passing game. But I do think overall the Vikings are a much better team, and they're favored by 4 here. I think they'll get the win with the last-second field goal, so I do have Atlanta covering that spread.
Yeah, I would definitely be taking Atlanta there through the spread and probably straight up too. I like what the Falcons can do without Dan Quinn. Like you said, the teams that lose coaches, there's just something about them. They always seem to win that next week, and they're getting Julio Jones. I'm pretty sure they're getting Julio Jones back this week. And that's gonna make a difference for them. So overall, I think the Vikings are getting better, but they're so young in the secondary. Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, I think they'll be able to exploit that. Matt Ryan hasn't had a passing touchdown in like the last 9 quarters. I think he's going to have 2 or 3 in this game. Like you said, Kirk Cousins probably going to have a couple himself. This should be a pretty high-scoring game, but I like the Falcons.
All right, so we already have dissension among the ranks. Going to separate the men from the boys at the end of this week, it sounds like. That's a little premature. All right, so Zach and I are taking the Vikings. Jeff's taking the Falcons. All right, the Bears at Panthers. This is another potentially really good game. The Panthers are on a 3-game win streak. Teddy Bridgewater is doing a great job. They're 3-2, losing to the Bucs and the Raiders, which are both potentially playoff teams, and they beat the Chargers. So on the other side of the ball, Foles is doing a mediocre job with streaks of unstoppableness. Is that a word? Unstoppableness.
It is now. We make our own words here.
That's exactly right. It is now. Put that in the dictionary, Webster. Foles can just get when Foles gets hot, he gets ridiculously hot. I think Troy Aikman was talking about that the other night. I mean, he just gets on fire. And the Bears defense, pretty much everybody's healthy for both teams. This is a coin flip for me, but I'm going to go with the Panthers.
Yeah, had you asked me a few weeks ago if I would have cared about this game, I would have straight up laughed in your face. But to me, this is one of the most intriguing matchups for this week. You have the Bears, they're 4-1, coming off a huge win against Tampa Bay. The Panthers won 3 straight. But I won't get this game right because I'm 0-5 when doing the Bears games this season. So, but I'm going to go with Carolina. They are the 2.5-point favorites here. And I have them winning and covering that spread.
I don't like that you just jinxed the Panthers like that. You should have just went with the Bears.
It is what it is. I'm 0-5 picking when I pick for or against the Bears. They always do the opposite.
Yeah, well, I like the Panthers too this week. It's a tough one to pick because the Bears are unpredictable. Teams with a really elite defense are just unpredictable because sometimes offense doesn't even have to do anything. But the best weapon against a defense that has really good edge rushers is to get the ball out of the quarterback's hand quickly and have a good run game. And with Mike Davis and the scheme that they run there with all the slants and the crossing routes and the drags, I expect them to be able to get the ball out of Teddy's hand and let the playmakers make plays. Robbie Anderson is really good at catching the ball and running with it. He's really fast, really creative in the offense. Matt Rule coached him in college, and he's using them perfectly in the NFL. So I think the Panthers have a recipe for beating the Bears, and I think they'll be able to get it done.
Okay, so all three of us are picking the Panthers. Okay. Bengals at the Colts. Man, this is a dangerous game right here. You laugh. I see you laughing, Hefe. Look, all right, so Indy had a disappointing loss, and the mental aspect of losing, especially where they're at, is tricky, and I'm going to tell you why, since you asked. There's this whole something to prove thing, right? If this team believes in itself and it believes in the future, then that's what we'll see this week. But there's also this whole waiting for the other shoe to drop thing. And when that happens, the above motivation that I just mentioned, the previous motivation, is actually thinly veiled. And as soon as things start to go wrong, that mentality from something to prove can shift right into, oh my God, here we go again, very quickly. And when that happens, the difference is now they're playing to not lose. And that's a huge difference between playing to win, right? There's a huge difference between the two. I mean, you think the Patriots, during their dynasty, you think they played to win or played not to lose? They always had confidence they were going to win. They walked on the field. They were the team to beat. The '90s Chicago Bulls, Tiger Woods at his peak. So I think Reich is in a pivotal situation here. This isn't the end all. I'm not, doom and gloom. Like if they lose, they're down and out, or if they win, that this is going to fix everything. I'm just saying, if the Colts struggle and luck goes the Bengals' way, and the Colts lose this one, the dynamics could shift on this team, and it could be, an uphill battle. I think losing the Bengals will bring back and probably make the Week 1 loss to the Jags suddenly relevant. I don't think it's been relevant. I think it was a slow start to a weird season in game one. It happens. People lose the first game all the time. But I think 2 losses in a row and one of them to the Bengals. I think now week 1 loss to the Jags suddenly comes back into the conversation and creates doubt. But by all rights, the Colts should control this game from start to finish and get a win at home. I'm certainly going to pick them, and I certainly hope that's what we see.
Yeah, I have an odd feeling about this game as well. Last week, Joe Burrow faced his first Super Bowl caliber defense. This week, he's going to face his second. Darius Leonard, he's still not back at practice. He may play, he may not. The Colts have a bye week coming up, so they may play it safe, let him heal up. Who knows? We'll see. If Darius Leonard plays, the Colts are going to dominate this game. If he's out, that's what kind of scares me. But as long as the Colts can move the football, which they should, because Anthony Costando's back at practice. He should be playing, so we'll have our starting lineman back in. And the Bengals' defensive line isn't nearly as good as the Browns' defensive line. So that'll alleviate some of the pressure on Phillip Rivers. I think he'll perform better. We'll move the ball. We'll put the points on the board. Our defense will continue to be stifling against a rookie quarterback, even though Joe Burrow's been impressive. But I think this should be an easy win.
Yeah, it really should. And like you said, they faced the Bengals. They played the Ravens, and he really struggled. Joe Burrow struggled against an elite defense, and he's going up against this Colts defense, which is still the best defense in the league in a lot of stats. And I expect Joe Burrow to still make mistakes, whether Darius Leonard is there or not. In the second half of that Browns game, Baker only had 19 passing yards. Right, and they still ended up winning the game because Philip had the 2 interceptions and whatever. But this Indy defense with Bobby Okereke and Anthony Walker, even without Darius Leonard, I'm comfortable with the defense. But from the Colts' 3 wins this season, they've run the ball 40 times, 29 times, 38 times, and passed the ball 29 times, 25 times, 21 times. In the 2 losses, they've run the ball 22 times and 18 times and thrown the ball 46 times and 33 times. And in the 2 losses, Phillip Rivers has 2 interceptions in each of those games. So they're going to have to stop getting cute with the play calling. And Frank Reich has owned up to some of his play calling mistakes, like the safety in the Browns game. He should have never called that play. He should have run the ball with Jonathan Taylor, got a little more space and whatever. So he's taken ownership of it, but he's got to fix it, and he's got to run the ball more. It's evident last year, and it's already evident this year. If you're running the ball, you're controlling the clock, you're letting your defense rest. They were on the field a lot in that Browns game, and by the end of the game, that 28-yard run at the end of the game, you have to imagine was able to happen because the defense was just gassed from being on the field so long. So I think they control the ball in this game. I think they're going to get back to running the ball more. I think the offensive line is really pissed off right now, and they're going to come out and they're going to abuse this Bengals team.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. And to your point, Reich is still learning what Rivers is capable of. I mean, he calls some plays, some things don't work out. Because they have a history from a long time ago, and Reich certainly watched him play since then. But they haven't. Their recent working history is new. So Reich has to figure out how what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I guarantee you, based on the things that you just said and the game last week, there are certain situations that Reich would do something different next time, and that's how you learn. So anyway, we all 3 agree the Colts should win this one.
Yeah, and I will say the Colts are favored by 8 points in this game.
Okay,
I forgot to mention that.
Yep. All right, cool. Okay, so next up is the Browns at the Steelers. Now we've talked about what our game of the week's going to be, and we couldn't decide between the Browns and the Steelers and the Packers at the Bucs. And so we therefore decided, since one is an AFC game with 2 AFC teams and the other is an NFC game with 2 NFC teams, and both, I would imagine all 4 teams are probably playoff bound. It's safe to say that at least 3 of them will make the playoffs, if not all 4. So we decided we'd have 2 games of the week. This is our AFC game of the week, Browns at Steelers. And damn, another good game this week. AFC North interconference game. Teams that play each other. I mean, they're good teams with good records. We're fighting for the top spot if the Browns win, they move into the top spot. They're teams that play each other all the time, interconference games. I say it all the time. All bets go out the window. We see some crazy stuff when teams in the same conference play each other. Which Mayfield will show up. I'm on the Browns train, but they're on the road in Pittsburgh. Man, I don't know. Somebody want to step up?
Yeah, this is another intriguing matchup for me this week. The Steelers are sitting atop the AFC North at 4-0. The Browns are right behind them at 4-1 with the Ravens. The Browns have looked impressive, although I don't think they should have won that game last week against the Colts. But they did make the plays. They got the win. And I think Pittsburgh's impromptu bye week kind of screwed up their flow, which led to their first half struggles last week. So I think Pittsburgh is the better team. I think that'll show in this game. I got Pittsburgh winning. They're favored by 3.5, and I also have them covering that spread.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know. I think this is going to be a really close game, back and forth. We know Big Ben. He likes to take his shots down the field. And this offense hasn't been incredibly consistent this year compared to past years where we've seen the Steelers just racking up the points and eating people up. But they're just able to get the big play. We've seen in a couple games, a couple of the close games they've had this year where they're not really getting it together. And Juju gets a long touchdown this last week. It was all of Chase Claypool getting a bunch of big plays for touchdowns. So, I'm not as confident in the Steelers' offense right now, but their defense is elite. You guys know, and anybody that's been listening to us knows that I love a good defense. And I think that's going to play a big part in this game. Baker is, I believe he's practicing, but his ribs are sore. And this pass rush is going to be crazy coming from the Steelers. So I think, if Cam Hayward or T.J. Watt sack him and hit him and fall on top of him and he aggravates that rib injury, if Mayfield has to leave this game, it's going to be an issue for the Browns. I think that's a high probability. So I went ahead and I picked the Steelers in this
one. Okay. So just for the record, I picked the Steelers as well. So we all three agree the Steelers should win. I don't even want to say they should win. We've picked the Steelers. This game could go either way. All right.
Yeah. I mean, the Browns looked incredible last week. They could for sure, beat the Steelers, but we'll have to keep seeing it, I guess.
Yeah, and it's in Pittsburgh. And if there's a football team, there are a couple teams that take that shit very seriously, and Pittsburgh's one of them.
Yeah, and they're letting fans in their stadium again, so they're going to have some terrible towels waving around.
Yeah, it'll be an energetic situation for sure. So, okay, cool. Next up, Broncos at the Patriots. Patriots.
Yeah, this game was pushed back. The more time Belichick has to prepare for you, the lower your odds get, especially if you're with the 1-3 Broncos and you're going into Foxborough. New England's going to win this one big.
Yeah. And even if Cam doesn't play in this one, they win, but he's asymptomatic. By the time the game comes around, he should be able to play in the game. So, this one, not a whole lot to talk about here. Whoever the starting quarterback is, probably going to throw some picks, and Cam's going to do what Cam does, and Patriots get the win.
Okay, we all three agree the Patriots are going to win. Next up, Lions at Jags. Lions.
Yeah, this is a game Detroit should win. If they don't, I think Matt Patricia's instantly on the hot seat. I do think they will get the win here, and it should be more than the 3.5 point spread. So I got Detroit winning and covering.
Yeah, this is going to be a huge game for the Lions. I think Matt Stafford and Kenny Galladay go crazy. Kenny Galladay is going to have like 10 catches for 170 and 1 or 2 touchdowns. That Jacksonville secondary has been really bad over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So they're going to get exploited by a really good quarterback. And I don't even think this one's going to be close.
Okay, we all three agree with the Lions. And I actually agree with you, honestly. And this isn't just to make fun of the Jags, which I like making fun of the Jags. But if the Lions lose this game to the Jags, then Patricia's got to go. I don't know how anybody could not reason with that. I don't know how anybody could not agree with that. The Lions should have a field day.
Yeah, you're already 1-3. You lose this game, you're dropped to 1-4. You just lost to one of the worst teams in the league. I agree. He's going to be on the hot seat. It wouldn't surprise me if they cut ties with him, but I don't think they will.
We'll see. All right, Texans at Titans. Titans. No, I'm just kidding. Well, maybe. I don't know. We got this interconference thing again. Texans got a win last week. They got a new coach that we've talked about that ironically through this whole episode. They're in Tennessee. Tannehill looked like he decided he wants to be in the Hall of Fame one day. All of a sudden the other night, I still got to go with Tennessee.
Yeah, it's an interdivisional game. Anything can happen. It'd be great to see the Texans win it just for the Colts' sake. But after what I saw the other night, got to go with Tennessee.
Yeah, I tried to think of a scenario in my head where I think Houston can win this game because it'd be nice to see the Titans lose one that they shouldn't lose. But I just don't see that happening. You know, we saw with some of the guys getting healthy for the Titans, they were a powerhouse against the Bills. And sure, the Bills were hurt, but they looked really good. And Ryan Tannehill, I don't know how people still can talk shit about, like, how's anybody talking shit about Ryan Tannehill, who's been one of the best quarterbacks in the league since he took over from Mariota. And it's apparent every week he doesn't turn the ball over. He throws multiple touchdowns every game.
And yet this season he has better stats than Mahomes.
Yeah. And I think I saw something earlier where in his last 15 games, whatever it is, since he took over, I think he has barely less yards, but in terms of completion percentage and touchdowns and interceptions, his stats are better than Mahomes overall, and the record's the same. So that's a great comparison. People are still trashing this guy, but he's a great leader, a great quarterback. You know, former number 6 overall pick in the draft for a reason. And then they have Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry is coming off a game where he had 23 carries for only 57 yards. But the way they're running that offense right now, they don't.
Stiff arm.
And the nastiest stiff arm in NFL history, yeah. But the way they're running that offense, they don't need to be spectacular. They're doing what they have to do. They're picking up their third downs. You know, they were 1 for 1 on fourth down, so they do that when they need to. You know, they're just power football. You know, play action, hit the shot when you can get it, but just getting first downs. That's what they're about. And when you can move the ball and then put the ball in the end zone almost every time you're there, it's a good recipe for success. So I don't think the Texans have any shot in this.
Okay, we all agree. We're all taking the I almost said Texans. Lord help me. We all three picked the Titans. Okay, next up, Washington football team at the New York Giants. Washington. No, I'm just kidding. This could go either way. I rationalized both these teams winning in I would exaggerate and say 20 different directions. It was really probably about 3 for each team, but I did pick the Giants. So
yeah, they played well. The Giants played well against Dallas last week, even though both teams are pretty awful. But fortunately, they're taking on a Washington team that's trying to figure out their quarterback situation. I think being at home helps a lot. Thus them being a 3-point favorite, and I have them getting the win and covering that 3 points.
Yeah, I like the Giants here. You know, I know they're winless, but they look good against the Rams, who are looking really good right now. And they looked decent last week against the Cowboys. And sure, the Cowboys defense is garbage, but you know, the Giants, they just feel like one of those teams that even though they're not going to be anywhere near the playoff picture, they seem to be getting better every week, and that's really all you want to see from a new coach. You lost Saquon early in week 2, and the pieces just aren't there on the defense to really stop anybody. But the defense has improved. James Bradbury coming over from Carolina is huge for the defense. It's really the only thing saving them from people putting up like 50 on them every week. But like I said, they're getting better every week, and Washington is trying to figure out their quarterback situation, and that seems to be a mess. And as much as I like Ron Rivera and his leadership, I don't think it's going to be enough to overcome what's going on there. So I like the Giants in this.
Okay, and Zach, did you say you were taking the Giants?
Yeah, I got the Giants.
Yeah, I thought you did. I just want to make sure. So we're all three taking the Giants on that one. Okay, next up, Ravens at the Eagles. Ravens.
Yeah, the Eagles could surprise us here and be kind of competitive in this game, but ultimately the Ravens are going to be too much for them. Baltimore's favored by 8. They'll win this. They'll cover.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll cover. You know, I think Philly has a chance to be competitive in this game. You know, the Ravens haven't been crazy explosive on offense, so and the Eagles week after week are getting a little bit healthier. The guys that are stepping in this season, getting the playing time and more experience and figuring out what to do. So, I don't think they'll win this game, but I don't think people should just see this game and laugh it off. I think this can be a generally entertaining game to watch, but that Baltimore defense is so good that they'll get some sacks and probably force an interception or two with the pressure. So you got to go with Baltimore here.
Yeah, and my perception of this, I agree with everything you guys said, but I have this. I've had it since the beginning of the season. The Baltimore is the real deal, and I'm waiting for that to pick up, and it's going to pick up at any moment. And I'm banking on the it's this week, or if not this week, next week. And I think the Eagles are just struggling too much, and so I think the Ravens will pull this one off. So we all three agree the Ravens are going to win this one. Okay. So here's the other game of the week that we couldn't decide on. This is the NFC game of the week, which usually doesn't work out this way, but it works out brilliantly for us this week. It's the Packers at the Buccaneers. I don't want to say what I'm getting ready to say, but I don't want as much.
Let's hear it.
Down here with the Bucs at home, but I cannot pick against the Packers right now.
That's right. Game of the week right here. It's a very tough call. Green Bay's only favored by 2. Tampa Bay's at home. But the Bucs have looked vulnerable in multiple games so far this season. So I'm going to stick with my current number 1 overall team in the league and go with the Packers. Coming off a bye week, they should be ready to go.
Yeah, and I don't actually think this is going to be a tough game at all with the way we've seen the Packers playing. The Bucs, we're going to have to see who they bring into this game. I'm pretty sure Leonard Fournette's going to be good to go. Not really sure if Chris Godwin's going to be good to go. But either way, we saw what the Packers were able to do without Devontae Adams in the lineup and without Alan Lazard in the lineup. And they barely used the number 1 receiver for their last game against the Falcons and Marcus Valdez-Scantling. It basically just killed the Falcons with running backs. So, if they have that kind of creativity in the offense to where they don't even need to use receivers, then when you get a top 5 receiver back in the offense, you can only assume that they're going to be able to figure some things out, even against a defense like the Buccaneers, who have definitely shown that they can be one of the top defenses in the league. They have one of the best young corners in the league, and they can be competitive. But I don't like what I've seen from their offense. It's just not consistent enough. There are parts in games where they look really good, but then there seem to be, a drive or two in every game where it just looks super sloppy. We saw in the last game, they had 2 different drives where they got to like 1st and 30 or something like that. And you just can't be doing that. And like we mentioned in the recap, penalties have been killing them. So they got to clean that up. And so I think this isn't really going to be too close. I think it's probably going to be a 2-score game, and I'm taking the Packers.
Okay. We all three agree the Packers come down here to Tampa and get another win. So, all right. Rams at 49ers. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. The 49ers are just, in my opinion, are too banged up. And subsequently, because of that, they're still struggling to find their identity. I don't know who in the hell they are. I don't think they know who in the hell they are. I believe in what Shanahan's doing, and I think we've talked about this before, as the injuries get straightened out, I'd like to see what this 49ers team is capable of, because I think they're really good. But they're not today, Satan. The Rams should improve to 5-1 in this NFC West matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's an interdivisional game. Anything can happen, but I'm going to go with the Rams here as they got the momentum and they're healthier. They're favored by 4. I think they'll win and cover.
Yeah, I think this one's going to look a little better than that Dolphins game did. In the Dolphins game, the Niners were without their top 3 corners. And in this one, it looks like they're going to be getting 2 of those guys back. One of them is on the IR, but they're also, the 49ers had to put Quan Alexander on the IR, which is going to leave a huge hole in the defense. I know they still have Fred Warner there, but, as soon as they get some guys back, they're putting other guys on IR. So I just can't go with them with confidence. Like I said, I don't think it'll be as ugly as last week, but I got to go with the Rams here.
Okay, we all three agree we're taking the Rams this week. Next up is the Jets at the Dolphins. Come on, man. I wish we could say, well, this is Gase's revenge game, and he's no. This should be an ass whipping.
Yeah, it should be. Miami dominated an injury-ridden San Francisco team last week. They should be able to do the same against the Jets this week. Was last week a fluke, or are the Dolphins for real? If they dominate this game, I think they've turned that page. If they struggle against the Jets, I'll struggle in believing in them week in and week out from here. To me, that's going to be a sign of the Dolphins of the years past. So to me, this is kind of a measurement game. You should absolutely crush the Jets. And if they don't, I got a little bit of worry with the Dolphins going forward because they should be past this point. They're favored by 9, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I think they'll be able to get it done. The Jets they're terrible, right? Like nobody should expect them to win. The Dolphins, like there's no single thought in my mind and like, oh, if this happens, the Jets can win. Like there's no chance. They could lose 6 players in this game, which I hope doesn't happen. But they could lose 6 players in this game. They're still going to win. Fitzpatrick just became the only other Dolphin other than Dan Marino to throw for 350 and 3 touchdowns with 0 picks in the game. So coming off of that and the way this defense is playing, no chance the Dolphins lose.
Yeah, I was going to make a joke that either Fitzpatrick's going to throw 6 touchdowns or 6 interceptions. It seems like there's no in between with that guy. And I'm just kidding because I love Fitzpatrick. I think he's great, and I love this situation. There's only 2% of the pick'em participants nationwide chose the Dolphins, and we know they're those delusional Jets fans that we were in New York City that we were talking about on the Week 5 recap. So okay, so we have 2 Monday night games coming up. The first one is the Chiefs at the Bills, and we had this conversation last week. It would have been a completely different thought process, but I'm not going to completely just shit on the Bills either. I think every team gets caught off guard. Every team gets caught with their pants down. Every team has a bad game. I certainly think that they are the real deal until they prove otherwise, and I don't think one game does that. This is probably just going to be a shootout.
Yeah, KC has looked very vulnerable so far in a few of their games. They're coming off their first loss to the Raiders. The Bills are also coming off their first loss to the Titans, and they're a little banged up. But champions overcome adversity, and a loss to a divisional foe such as the Raiders could potentially be a good loss for the Chiefs and kickstart them once again. I got Kansas City taking this one.
Yeah, this one was tough for me, and it really comes down to who's not going to be there for the Bills. And I think Trey White is expected to be back this week, but the 2 linebackers that they were missing, the Bills were missing from this past week. One of them's on the IR right now, the short-term IR, and the other one is Matt Milano. He's week to week, and it sounds like they're going to be more precautionary with that and hold him out. And so I just don't think they'll be able to. They won't have the firepower on defense to stop the Chiefs, which is it's unfortunate because the Bills' defense for the first 4 weeks was really good, but apparently, they don't really have the depth on that defense. As soon as those guys went out, they got punished by the Titans. So I think there's some holes in the defense with some of those guys hurt, and it's going to be too much to overcome against the Chiefs here.
Okay, we all 3 agree. We're all 3 taking the Chiefs on this one, but I hope I hope it's a good game. I think it really could be a good game, fun game to watch. Okay, next up, last but not least, is the Cardinals at the Cowboys. And I don't know where to go with this. If it were any other week, I'd still make fun of the Cowboys, but it's too early. With that injury to Dak, it's pretty serious. I chose the Cardinals in this game, but there's so many questions with the Cowboys right now, and I joke a lot about this as well. But we're waiting for McCarthy's experience to kick in, and it should. I'm not going to guarantee that it will because I've seen veteran coaches who have a pretty decent track record go somewhere else and completely tank. It's not the first time it's happened, but the Cowboys should get better under McCarthy. I can't imagine. Well, Jerry Jones won't put up with it. I mean, if they don't win this year, he'll fire him and find somebody else. But so we're still waiting for the Cowboys to get better, and that could happen any week. right? The next question is, how does Dak's injury affect this team? I mean, emotions are a critical part of the game. It's a pretty gruesome injury. They don't have their quarterback. I know Dalton is a good quarterback. We all three agree we like Andy Dalton a lot. So how does Andy Dalton's? That's another question. How does his presence change the offense? I don't know how that plays out. I know both of you are probably getting ready to talk about that. As we get deeper into this game.
Yeah, so theoretically, Arizona should dominate the Cowboys with Dak Prescott being out. Dak was playing at a high level. He's leading all the stat charts, everything. So it's a huge hit for the Cowboys to lose him. But I've said it before. We've said it before. As you just said, Andy Dalton can lead this team, and I think down the road he will prove that. But with that said, the Cowboys' defense is absolutely garbage. They're not going to be able to contain Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. Arizona's favored by 2.5. I got them winning, easily covering this one.
I wish I had the same confidence in the Cardinals that I see other people have. And it might be, a predisposition that I have to Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. But we've seen in the Cardinals' 2 losses, if you take D-Hop away, then it's hard for them to get going on offense. And I said in the recap, because of Dak's injury, I think that they're going to try to ball control it more. And we're going to see the Cowboys actually run the ball more, which they should have been doing anyways. But I think they're going to do it, and I think it's going to work for them here, because if they can keep themselves on the field and just let Tony Pollard and Zeke just hammer out a bunch of runs, and if they can get close to 40 minutes of possession in this game, it'll be tough for the Cardinals to really get a rhythm going, kind of like we saw in the Browns-Colts game. In the first half, the Colts only get 3 drives. They can't really get anything going on offense. I think the Cowboys would be wise to do the same thing here, because the defense they don't have it this year, right? They have so many injuries. They just put somebody else on the IR from the defensive line this week. But I do think that the Cowboys are going to be able to beat the Cardinals.
Okay. So
interesting.
We've got more dissension. I think we agreed on. I think Zach. I think you and I may have agreed on every game.
I think you're right.
And Hefe has dissented on 2 games. So
he's trying to take that lead back. Wait, how many games are you down to?
4.
You're down 4.
He's got to make up ground. So you're going to do it quickly this week with 2 games, huh?
Yup.
All right. So with all the questions, I mean, with all the questions around Dallas, there's one thing for sure: we should see Jalen Smith taking a selfie of himself after making a routine tackle for a loss midway through the 3rd quarter on a play that means absolutely nothing. Just had to get that dig back in. It's the dig of the week. All right, so we appreciate you joining us. Please, again, be sure to show us some love. Like, share, subscribe. Tell all your friends. We'd like to ask you to help us reach 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and we have a chance of winning an authentic NFL jersey on us from the NFL shop. If you're watching this, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss an episode, and don't miss, again, the chance for the jersey giveaway. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, head on over to YouTube and help us out. We appreciate the support. It's not too late to go head-to-head against us in the weekly pick-em battle, and you could probably catch up with Hefe.
Got him.
Just kidding, man. Just kidding. Anyway, if you'd like to join in on the fun and perhaps we'll mention you during the show or even have you on, hop onto our Facebook, Twitter page at Horsemen Sports, where you can find the link to join for free. For the Pigskin Pick'em League and win a prize. And as I said, maybe get on air with us and represent your team. So for all you fantasy fanatics, if you haven't already, be sure to check out our latest episode of Fantasy Central, which released last night. Zach, the Oracle, and Hefe, the Guru, cover the top waiver wire picks, must starts, and players to avoid for this coming week. And of course, we will see you again on Tuesday next week for our Week 4 recap. Until then, thanks for joining us and enjoy the games.